Hey, this is Mark, and today I've got an HTC One M8 that has come in, and it has damage to this connector, which is has like the volume and the SD card reader on the flex that plugs in here, and this connector, which is the LCD that plugs in here. So I don't source these connectors because I very rarely see these jobs, but I do keep donor boards on hand for the occasional HTC One that comes in. I believe this is an M7, but I'm pretty sure it's got a couple of connectors I can use off of it. So we're gonna see if these match up and see if I can swap some over. So we'll start with this one. And this guy is not a match. That's too long, that's too short. And that looks just right. Maybe it's a pin too short. Let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. All right, so that's going to be a match. I'll just mark this so I can easily identify that one when I go to take it off. And now let's see if we have a match for this one. And yeah. I'm not even going to count the pins. That looks pretty obviously a match. All right, so just mark that so I don't lose it. So first thing I'm going to do is take these old connectors off. So I'll go in and add a little bit of leaded solder to all of the joints so that this will come off a little easier with the hot air. I think I'm going to go ahead and pop that latch out just to get it out of my way. Don't need it anymore. All right. Ooh. And I do want to be careful not to melt this guy up too much, because I don't want to have to replace a third connector on this. So I think I'm going to go ahead and cover these guys up on either side of this one. Alright, and then the same thing over here, just tin up these joints with some leaded solder. Take this bad one off. Okay. Get these pads cleaned up. All right, now is the more tricky part. Getting those broken ones off, it's pretty easy. But getting these guys off without damaging them, it's a little bit harder. So I think for this, I'm going to use some Chip Quick. Chip Quick low melt solder. That's just the brand that I happen to have. It's pretty much all of it's the same. Any low melt should work. You know, something with a high content of bismuth. And this stuff just melts at a really low temperature. Makes it a lot easier to get plastic pieces off of logic boards without melting them. Although anytime I break out the Chip Quick, I have to make note for any of you newbies out there who aren't already aware, this stuff is extremely brittle. So it's okay to use to get something off like this, but you definitely want to remove every trace of it before you install something new. Otherwise, the joints that you create are going to be super fragile and very, very prone to failure. Don't want to send the customer away and then the next time they drop it, whatever connector you soldered on just pops right back off. Alright, I think that's all of the pins. So now, let's see if I can get this off without melting it. I'm going to lower my hot air down to, let's say 200, see if that's good enough. So I'm going to be watching the plastic very, very closely. If I see any signs that it's starting to melt, I'm going to back my hot air off really quick. Now it looks like this is a good, safe temperature as far as the plastic is concerned. But is it going to be enough to melt this new alloy of chip quick plus lead-free solder that's OEM? Alright, we're starting to get there. Part of the problem is that the solder has to, the lead-free has to, I'm sorry, the chip quick, the low melt has to mix with all of the solder that's on the joints. So if you don't get a really good mixture, if they don't like flow together really well when you're adding it to the joints, then some of them will take a little bit longer, which is what we're seeing now. Maybe I missed a joint, I don't know. This guy right here is taking a little longer than I think he should. There we go, now we're starting to get there. This joint is not doing what I want, so I'm just gonna add a little bit just to make sure he got covered. And now I can't remember which one it was. So it was one of these guys. I think, yeah, it was that guy. There we go. Yeah, look at that. All the other ones are still melted, even with the hot air off for that long. Okay, so we should have a good usable connector there. I've just got to very carefully clean off as much of that as I can with the wick. I think I'm going to do this by holding a piece of wick in my hot tweezers and then brushing these legs to clean them off. Alright, get back over here. There we go. Even doing it this way, I'm still leaving solder on there. Let's see, what else can I do? I know, try it like this. Let's see. Put a piece of the wick down. Put the connector on top of the wick. Then add plenty of flux. Maybe this will work better. I'm not going to be able to get 100% of the low melt solder off, but I just want to get as much as I can. All right. There we go. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get that one. So we'll set that off to the side with the board for now. And we'll go after the other connector I'm going to need, which was this guy. So in the interest of showing, that there's always more than one way to skin a cat, I'll take this one off another way. So, if you don't happen to have Chip Quick or any kind of low melt alloy, then you're not completely out of luck. There's still things you can do. So what I'm doing is taking the board to hang off the edge of my work surface so I can get underneath this connector with hot air. And then I'm going to raise my hot air up to, I'm going to go with like 420. So now I'm heating the board from the bottom. And in this case, there's no components on the bottom. So I'm really not worried about anything down there. But even if there were, this is my donor board, so who really cares? I'm going to add a little bit of flux just because that helps give me visual clues about how hot we're getting up here on the top of the board. So this is going to take a bit longer than you might think. And that's because we're trying to melt lead-free solder from the opposite side of the board. So got to heat up a ton of ground. But eventually that heat will transfer all the way through to the top side. And this connector should come off pretty easily. Oh, I forgot to put something to weigh this down. Don't have anything I can reach from where I'm sitting. Alright, that flux is really starting to bubble. So it should be getting there. Now this method is it's a little bit of a pain for me just because of the way I have my setup. So I've got my hot air up on a higher shelf, so it's not exactly easy for me to get my hot air low enough to really get underneath the board doing it this way. So this really should have come off by now, but I haven't really been delivering the heat that I would be able to if I could get this hot air directly underneath the board pointing straight at it instead of angled like it is. And then I suppose another thing I could have done was add leaded solder to all these joints just to make it come off that much easier. Alright, come on, guy. Taking too long. I don't have all night. There we go. And it's off. So with that method, you don't have to clean off the leftover solder. You don't have to risk melting up the connector while you're doing that. And you don't have to have low melt solder handy. So, but there's two different ways to get the same job done. Now let's get these guys back on here. And go ahead and turn my hot air back down just in case I grab it without noticing that it's set to 420. Clean this old dried up flux off of here. Alright, get some leaded solder, get some flux. Got those anchors done. Now we'll just knock these pins out. This should go pretty quickly. Hey, honey. Cecilia.
Yeah.
You getting a beer?
Yeah.
Can you get me one?
They're not cold.
Can you put it in a cold mug then? Thank you. I'm about ready for a break here. Okay, one side done. Having a hard time getting my hot tweezer tips all the way down to the board on these. It's just a really tight area. There we go. That's better. These ground pins are being a pain in the ass here. All right, now I'm going to quickly just check these pins for any movement. And they're all pretty solid there. Let's see, do I have any bridging going on? Yes, one little bridge I gotta clear. There we go. All right, so that one is good to go. Now we'll take care of this one, and then I can go have a beer.
How do I get this?
Just hold on to it. I'll be done here in just a couple of minutes. There's my flux. Come on, ground pin. And the ground on these boards just sucks the heat right out. I'm going to break out the big gun for these couple of ground pins here. All right, there's that one, and that one just doesn't want to go, does it? There we go. Now I just want to clear some of this flux out and have a better look at these joints. Yeah, not happy with those guys. There we go, finally. There we go. I'm happy with that. Now I'm sure that these ones on the back side are going to be a pain in my ass too. Oh yeah, we're back at the ground ones. Sons of bitches. And those two are probably ground as well. We'll worry about them in a minute. Okay, alright, come on, guy. Just gonna hold you forever. There we go. I think that should be good on all of these now, except maybe this ground pin. And I can probably get away with leaving one or two ground pins. Maybe able to get away with leaving all but one of the ground pins, you know, poorly soldered. But the reason why I don't want to do that is because that's going to mean that the pin is wiggly. So then, you know, that increases the chances that a tech working on this and trying to put the flex cable in there could damage it again, bend a pin, cause some shorts and bridging and stuff. So not gonna risk it. Just gonna solder everything really good, even if it doesn't electrically you know, necessitate that it's soldered well. So it looks like I have a couple of joints I still need to go back in and touch up here. That one's good, and then yes, one of the ground ones here. Come on. There we go. All right, I am happy with that. I think that this should be working. For the purposes of the video, I'm only going to test that this boots up and has image. Just test that the LCD connector is fine. I will test the SD card reader and volume buttons too, but I didn't dig out an SD card yet, so you'll just have to trust me that it works. Oh man, I hate these HTC 1 series phones. I remember when the M7 first came out, was first time I had to do a screen change on one. It was just like, holy shit. Look at all these coaxial cables and super flimsy flex cables. So I like to say that the HTCs on the inside are nothing but spaghetti and rice paper. Nothing but coaxial cable spaghetti and rice paper flexes. I'm just cleaning some of the flux on the bottom of this board off. Clean a little off my desk too. All right, let's put this sucker in here. And you're gonna fire right up for me, right, guy? Yeah, of course you are. Ooh, I need to check out this flex cable though. Looks like it's gotten a little jacked up from shoving it in against bent pins. And the connector is still full of flux. It's gonna work. You know, once after I test that everything's working, I'll start cleaning flux off. And I've found the easiest way to do that with these kind of connectors is to just rub alcohol or acetone all over the you know, this end that slides in, and then slide it in, wipe it off, rub alcohol or acetone all over it again, and just repeat until flux stops coming out. And that cleans the insides of those guys really good. I hadn't noticed that I had not cleaned any of it off though before I jammed that thing in there. Come on, get in there. There we go. Okay. I'll connect up these other guys. So many flex cables in this phone. So many. All right, everybody's in there. Now just connect up the battery. And where's the power button on this guy? Isn't it at the top? No? Yeah. Yeah, you're at the top. There we go. All right, so we've got Android there behind the sticker that I forgot was on here. All right, so we are good. Now, of course, I'm going to go and fully test everything else, but that one is solved. So, as always, thanks for watching.